Bruce Arrell's my name, and I'm a Professor of General Practice from the University of Auckland, and this video is about tips to help people deal with their anxiety. There are two problems with the human brain. The first is that it's not designed for thinking, it's designed to keep us alive. So when something stressful happens to you, it starts to problem solve, and the solution often adds to the problem. For example, your mind starts suggesting avoiding people, and of course that doesn't help the anxiety in the long run. The problem solving can result in dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. And the other problem with the human brain is it starts to look for the delete button, and there is no delete button in the human brain. So what can we do with these stressful experiences, negative thoughts, emotions, associations, memories and sensations? We use what's known in acceptance and commitment therapy as holding these experiences lightly. This enables our brain to become at ease and comfortable with these negative thoughts instead of trying to solve them, which it can't. So as part of holding them lightly, we can use the analogy of the computer screen. We can imagine our thoughts as just thoughts on the screen, so they're separated from us. So when our brains experience psychological pain, we need our brains to be programmed differently. We can use a more formal option which requires us to identify the psychological pain, and these are usually around being unlovable or helpless. The helplessness is often around a loss of identity. So these are the buttons that are pushed. We sort of feel something's pushed in us that make us have this sort of knee-jerk stress reaction. Once we can name the pain, we can go through the 5 steps to hold it lightly, and these 5 steps are based in science. So the 5 mindful steps, I call this the mindful anchor, is you need to be seated with your feet on the ground, so that's the anchor, and I get people to put their hand over their heart. That's the second part of the anchor, and this is about as physically safe as you can be because you're going to be in the presence of your psychological pain. So in this situation, I would name it, perhaps being unlovable. I would notice it, and then I'd soften up around it. So give myself a little bit of self-compassion or kindness, be a little bit gentle on myself. And then you need to let go of it, perhaps put it on the other side of the room, give it a little bit of space. And at this point, you may notice that you're feeling a little bit more relaxed and that there are some possibilities starting to emerge that weren't possible when your mind was crowded and busy and trying to problem solve. And this is the expanded mode. So what is now possible in this space? In terms of expanding our lives, when we have anxiety and stress, our lives become constricted. I often say to people, when you become stressed, your life shrinks down. One of my roles as a doctor is to help you expand your life. So you need to expand your world, and this involves contacting people and places and things you've been avoiding. In this expanded place, you have some resilience. So how do I manage stress in my own life? Well, nowadays I recognize that it's there, and I'll say to myself consciously, there's no delete button, and then I'll either hold my hands lightly down here and say I'm holding it lightly, or I will just imagine that in my mind. The other thing is that I've learned is that when I don't want to go to the gym, which is something I enjoy, or doing something that I would normally enjoy, I just do it, and then I think afterwards, what's bothering me enough to make me stop wanting to go to the gym? So I've learned to trust my experience, not what my brain is telling me, and that's a very important thing. My experience of going to the gym is that I like doing it. My mind, when it's stressed, is saying, don't do it, you're too busy, you haven't got enough time for that. So I've learned to ignore my brain and trust my experience. So in summary, there's 2 problems. The brain was not designed for thinking, but for safety. The second thing is there's no delete button in the human brain. And finally, it's important to keep your life as expanded as possible, as there's very little resilience in a constricted life. I think if you can follow these various steps, you'll find your anxiety and stress more manageable.